You're listening to the myPET podcast, the show for pet lovers of Australia and around the world.
Hi, you're listening to the myPET podcast. I'm Aria and I'm here with our resident vet, Dr. Glenn.
Hello.
We're here today to talk about the golden, possibly mystical, possibly not, powdery, sometimes gooey stuff called turmeric.
Yep.
Or turmeric, or turmeric is how I say it.
Turmeric sounds good. Turmeric sounds good. Turmeric sounds weird.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. But however you say it.
It's all the same thing.
It's all the same thing.
Yep.
So it's a very popular product.
Absolutely. Gaining popularity for the last 5,000 years probably.
Yeah, I actually looked that up. It's been used, well, there's been evidence of it being used for medicinal purposes for 4,000 years.
Yeah, some 3,000 to 4,000, whoever you listen to, but a long time,
Yeah.
which means there's probably something in it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it's in a lot of stuff.
absolutely. Nearly everything these days.
Yeah, that's right. So it's hard to break apart. Like, what is it? What does it do? Does it do anything? Is it? What's the deal? So we're here to
Try and
find
sort
out.
out some of that
What is the deal with this yellow stuff that gets everywhere?
everywhere.
So, what is the deal? What is it? What is the active ingredient? What is it reported to do? Let's get into it.
Okay. It's awesome for making white kitchen benches yellow too, by the way.
Oh, cool. I'll have to give that a go.
If you're mixing stuff up yourself. Yeah, I mean, turmeric, it's got lots and lots of active ingredients. I mean, curcumin is the main one that people talk about as far as being bioactive and bioavailable, etc. Actually, hopefully doing something in the system. But it's in its root form because it's a tuberous
Literally its root form. It's like
root form.
potato.
Yeah, yellow orange potato. It's got lots of stuff in it. Curcumin's the one they talk about, the actual chemical that's involved, and there are purified curcumin extracts, etc., that are available. Some people say that it's maybe lots of the other stuff that's in it is important as well, and that probably makes sense because, like most things in nature, we don't know much about it realistically. And when you've got a natural product, okay, it's probably not just one thing that's actually got some activity in there. There's lots of different things that are doing something. But if we put that aside, I mean, it's curcumin that's the main thing that gets talked about for its magical or otherwise properties it's mostly around anti-inflammatory effect.
Yeah.
That's the main purported benefit from it. It's got other, I mean, if you Google what does turmeric do, I mean, it can cure everything from world peace to cancer.
It can cure world peace. Oh, no.
Basically.
Turmeric's here to create war.
But, it's mostly through its anti-inflammatory effect. And there's some pretty good science or reasonable science behind its anti-inflammatory effect. I mean, there's very few actual published decent papers in animals. There's a million anecdotes and people that have used it successfully to treat various things. Did it have anything to do with those treatment successes? I mean, some of those are hard to tell, basically, the same as most things when there's more than one factor involved. But, I mean, lots of people are convinced that it works for anti-inflammatory effect. I mean, a lot around arthritis and pain relief effects, gastrointestinal upsets, including irritable bowel syndrome and that sort of thing, purported cancer prevention and treatment effects. That's probably getting more or less based in science and more based in anecdotes largely. Yeah.
So as far as what does the science say about it?
Science says that curcumin seems to in vitro, so in like cells in little trays and petri dishes on their own, it probably has an anti-inflammatory effect. Maybe it has anti-cancer effects to cells in vitro, again in little trays, but again, if you pour bleach on a cancer cell, it dies as well, but that doesn't mean it's a good cancer treatment.
No. Yes.
There is some science that it has actually got cellular effects there. There's some reasonable studies in people that it seems to have an effect on the downregulations of inflammatory genes, so it actually changes the way that genes are expressed within cells to have an anti-inflammatory effect.
Okay.
That probably works.
Yes, but there is some science that says it.
If you Google PubMed, I mean, there's 350 papers on the anti-inflammatory effects, and there's been very few studies in cats and dogs and horses, realistically.
Yeah.
There's published studies in human literature about comparing double placebo-blind trials of comparing the anti-arthritic pain-relieving effects of turmeric compared to oral non-steroidal anti-inflammatories like Panadol and Nurofen and those sort of medications, and it seemed to work both. So, yeah, I mean, there's some reasonable studies out there, but I mean, the same as most of science, the only people doing the studies are the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory companies didn't do the studies trying to compare their products to turmeric. It was the turmeric pro side comparing their turmeric to non-steroidal anti-inflammatory. So with all scientific papers, you can not change facts, but report the facts you want to be reported.
That's right.
So take all scientific studies with a grain of salt sometimes.
Yes, that's right.
So it's hard. It's bloody hard when you get out there and start actually looking at what scientific papers actually studied, because someone's paying for every scientific paper, and it's the ones that don't get published are the ones that don't tell the results that people want.
So take your scientific papers with a grain of salt, and take your turmeric with a grain of pepper.
Correct. Black pepper.
Black pepper. Yep. So tell us about that. Why and how?
So curcumin that's the active ingredient that we accept that's in turmeric. We need it to be absorbed into the body in the first place, and we need it to stay in the body long enough to actually have its effect.
Yep.
When you take in just curcumin in its natural form, you can't actually absorb it very well at all. Its bioavailability is terrible, like less than 5% actually gets absorbed into the body. Black pepper is the main ingredient main thing in black pepper that has an active effect is pepperine, and that is a chemical that seems to adjust the way the body metabolizes lots of different chemicals. So it actually changes the way that the liver metabolizes chemicals and drugs and keeps some other chemicals in the system for longer. So if you get a chunk of turmeric or curcumin into the system, the purpurine that's in the system makes the body hang on to it for longer.
Yeah.
So you're giving the same dose, but it's staying in the system for longer. So it might help it to get absorbed a little bit better. I mean, the main absorption thing with curcumin is it's got to be in a fat or lipid soluble form. So it's not a water soluble chemical, it's a fat soluble chemical. So it's got to be given or be in the presence of food that's got enough fat in it to absorb it. So that's the two main things. It's if you give just curcumin on its own on an empty stomach, wasting time. If you give it with enough fatty substance of some sort to have it absorbed in the system, where you've got a chance. If you do it in the presence of black pepper, it stays in the system for longer again to hopefully have its purported positive effects.
So that's why you'll often see turmeric products with coconut oil.
Yep.
My theory on that, we tried to figure out why coconut oil in particular. My theory on that is that coconut oil is just kind of less messy to deal with than a lot of other fats.
Stays solid at a lesser temperature than other oils and fats. So it's just a bit easier to use. And I mean, it's a medium chain triglyceride, so unless you eat too much of it, in which case it goes straight through the body. It's a good fatty substrate that's easily absorbed in small amounts.
Yeah, cool.
And that's where golden paste come from. I mean, golden paste is there's a couple of different recipes, but it's essentially the turmeric and a small amount of black pepper. Like they talk about a quarter to half a cup of turmeric and like a quarter of a teaspoon of black pepper and 60 mils, depending on who you talk to, of coconut oil and half a cup of water, and then put that in a pan and heat it up a bit to emulsify it, and then cool it down and put it in little ice cube trays or however you want to divvy it up in the fridge, and then put that in your pet's food or in your tea or whatever way you want to do it.
But there are companies who've done all of that for us so that you can just scoop it out of a jar.
Certainly a lot easier.
It's much easier. I have tried doing both.
And better for your kitchen benches.
Absolutely, and your saucepans. The turmeric really brings into question how stainless steel is.
Okay, I haven't done the golden paste route. I just went straight to pre-prepared product with the active ingredients in it.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah, but I mean that's one thing to look at if you're buying. Turmeric as a supplement in something, because I mean you can buy just turmeric as a powdered form, and you've got to do something with that. Combine it probably with an oil, but certainly with the black pepper to activate it. So if you're buying a pre-made oil or liquid or solid or treat that hasn't got black pepper in it, you're probably wasting your time.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to do your dog biscuit and sprinkle some black pepper on it and give it to your dog, it's probably not going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, because there is a lot of stuff out there that has turmeric in it.
Correct.
If you're specifically wanting something for the health benefits of turmeric, that's the things to look out for.
Yes.
So there's a lot of treats and stuff that have turmeric in them, but may not have the stuff that increases the bioavailability of the curcumin.
Correct.
So it may have turmeric, but it may not be doing the same thing.
Yep.
So I guess in that sense, if someone's tried, I've tried this turmeric treat and didn't really do anything, well, maybe try the actual stuff that, has the stuff and see if that does anything.
Potentially, yep. If the turmeric's not in the presence of black pepper and enough fat, which probably isn't a lot, but enough fat to absorb it, you're probably wasting your time. Yeah. If you've got, just a turmeric capsule and you gave that to your dog on an empty stomach, well, you're completely wasting your time because it's not going to be absorbed and it's not going to be activated at all. If you're giving it in the presence of some fat in the meal and the black pepper, you've got a chance for it to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I anecdotally, I've used it with a dog I had who you treated who had inflammatory bowel disease with, I think, success.
Yeah, look, and I'm the same. I mean, it's not my first go-to for all conditions by any means.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've got 3 dogs, and they're all on it.
Cool.
For various reasons. I mean, I've got an old crazy one with arthritis, and the other 2 have got some joint stuff as well.
Yeah.
And I've got 3 horses that are on it as well because one's old and a bit crotchety, and the other one's the ones that get ridden. So look, it's very unlikely to do any harm, and I think the benefits far outweigh the potential negative side effects. Like
for me with my dog, it was like you'd given me clinical advice about what to do with his diet and other stuff, and so I did that, and then it was, well, hey, I want to try this as well.
Yep. And
it was like, well, it probably won't hurt, so let's see, and it seemed to do well, and I think that's generally what you were saying.
Look, I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, there's no active ingredients that actually have an effect without potentially having negative side effects.
Of course.
And there are, potentially negative side effects. They don't seem to be that great in most pets. I mean, anytime you're giving any dietary change, I mean, there's a chance that you're going to cause a gastrointestinal upset. And gastrointestinal upset seems to be the purported main potential side effect. It's one of its positive effects is it helps with gastrointestinal conditions, but that's the juxtaposition of most medications.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're introducing it, if you're mixing it up yourself and want to get to this dose, give a small proportion for the first meal and then slowly build up over 5-7 days. The same as probably you should change any dietary changes realistically. Frequency of administration probably makes sense, as in once a day is less likely to have a positive effect than twice a day or 3 times a day administration. So I at least recommend giving it twice a day. Yeah. So you've got that continued exposure to the medicinal benefit sort of thing.
Yeah.
Other potential side effects, in the human literature there's been reported maybe it causes some liver troubles in a small number of individuals. It is excreted through the gallbladder system, so maybe it contributes to gallbladder troubles with some individuals. But how many people have taken turmeric?
Yeah.
Billions probably over time, and at least many hundreds of millions probably. And there's going to be adverse side effects, and some of those adverse side effects, was it actually that, or was it something else that was going on at the same time? It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
But that's sort of the main potential side effects.
Yeah. So
maybe it's got some blood clotting parameter things. Maybe that's the pepperine more than anything.
Okay.
Humans, if they're on warfarin and anticoagulants, it might increase the availability or might increase the activity of anticoagulant agents. So, a few places it's mentioned that you should stop it a month before an elective surgery in pets. I don't really know if that's the case or not, but
anything,
it probably makes sense.
People should just speak to their vet about
Correct.
it.
Yeah.
I spoke to my vet about it before I put my dog on it.
Yeah.
And
it does change the metabolism of some other medications as well. Particularly if you're on anti-seizure medication like phenobarbital, metabolised through the liver, the papaverine may change the metabolism of that. So yeah, just check with your vet. If your dog's on long-term medication, is it going to affect the metabolism of the long-term medication? Again, that's probably not the turmeric, it's the pepper bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's really actually quite it's quite fascinating and complex and involved. The mechanisms of all this stuff.
And again, most of the time you're just extrapolating from human stuff.
Yeah.
Try establishing how much black pepper's in a person's diet.
That's right.
You can take it as a supplement to do stuff, but then it's in half the foods
That's right.
that some people eat. So it's difficult to quantify.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I guess what's the bottom line? Or what's your bottom line on turmeric?
Bottom line is, I think if you've got a patient with any sort of inflammatory condition, whether that's joint related, inflammatory bowel gastrointestinal makes sense. If your pet's got cancer, you're probably going to try lots of different things, or at least like to go down every avenue potentially. I think it's probably going to cure not very many things, but I think it's potentially beneficial. And if you've got an inflammatory or pain related condition, I think it's worth throwing in at your vet's advice.
Yes.
Yep.
Cool. And of course, like everything, this is all just general advice. For advice specific to your pet, have a chat to your vet.
Sounds good.
But turmeric, give it a whirl and try and keep it off stuff.
Yes. Just in your pet, not on your bench.
Yeah.
Yep.
And have a turmeric latte while you're at it. Because I like them. I think they're yummy. I really do quite like them.
I mixed up some of my pet's turmeric supplement just in some warm water, which is probably a bad idea. It tasted really bad.
Yeah.
But my dogs like it.
Yeah.
Or they eat it.
Yeah, my dog loved it.
Yeah. I haven't done a trial of no turmeric and turmeric, but they're dogs, they just eat it anyway.
Yeah, that's right. That's it.
Rightio, all good.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.